Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well here very close to the end of the term. So this is just a video to overview our final assignment for this course, the final reflective portfolio. This video is meant to overview some important aspects for me to talk about and explain in more detail. Some things that I find important for this assignment. It's not a substitution for you having read and understood this assignment prompt in more detail. So if you haven't yet, please go ahead before you watch this video and read through this prompt with care, read through the rubric with care. Okay, have you read it? If you haven't, stop this video, come back, and it will make more sense to you. All right, so the final reflective portfolio, which is 20% of our final grade, is the only universal assignment in all Writing 121 and Writing 122 classes. In other words, this is the only assignment that everyone who's taking first year writing here at Western Oregon University is doing exactly the same. What this means, this is all to say that it's an important part of the project of the first year writing goals here at Western Oregon University. As the name suggests, the reflective portfolio is a reflection. In week 10, we are addressing ideas of reflection, of metacognition, of transfer. We're addressing the ideas other writers and writing studies scholars have about why these things are important. So our task is to enact those concepts and to reflect. What we know is that reflecting on one's learning during and after the process of learning is central to growth as a writer and as a critical thinker. It's central to us being able to know what we know and use the hard-won practices and concepts from this course in our other courses or in any other writing situation. So with that conceptual framework, your final in this course, you're asked to assemble a portfolio that contains several pieces of the writing you've done for our class and a reflective essay. So in the essay, you should make an argument that you have achieved all of the learning outcomes of this course. Now, those learning outcomes are available on our syllabus, so it's important that you find and familiarize yourself with those course outcomes. We've also talked about threshold concepts, some core concepts in the course. This assignment does not ask you to address those specifically. Be really sure that you are addressing the course outcomes for this course, which can be found on our syllabus. So we're writing an essay that makes an argument that we have learned what we were supposed to learn basically in this course. This essay should reference the writing in your portfolio as evidence of your thinking growth accomplishments. So what's important to know is that there are two components to this assignment. One, the reflective portfolio, that is simply a collection of selected writings you've already done in this term, and the essay itself. Now, this is a crucial part of the assignment. You can tell from the fact that it's highlighted. The only new piece of writing in this portfolio is the reflective essay. You should use this essay as a space to create a piece of writing that reflects on the writing you've done. It links them together. It takes responsibility for the quality of the work that you've done, the choices that you made, and the learning that occurred. In short, you're writing an essay in which you are arguing that you have met the course outcomes, and then your portfolio is the evidence that you have achieved all the learning outcomes for this course. So for instance, just as when we make a claim in any other essay, it's not enough to say, yeah, I learned how to focus on writing as a process, and I learned that my writing improves with multiple drafts with feedback. Great. It's a great claim to make, especially considering our some of our course outcomes. But we have to then show it. We have to prove it. We have to give evidence, right? And so in this case, your evidence is the writing you've already done. You might say, well, look at this first shitty rough draft that I wrote. Compare that to my final polished piece. You'll see that my quality of thinking surrounding X, Y, or Z has improved in this way, right? So we are making claims in our essay, and we are backing those claims up with evidence, which can be found in our portfolio itself. So some guidelines. For the portfolio, we're asking you to select and collect somewhere between 5 to 7 pieces of writing that you've done for this class. And this can be any writing you've done. It can be informal, it can be formal, it can be a first draft, it can be a polished piece, it can be some notes that you took, or something you posted to our forum or to our discussion board. Or it can be one of your final polished essays, one of your high stakes pieces of writing. It can be any writing you've done in this class. An essay, the second component, of course, is an essay reflecting on the work you presented in your portfolio and how it serves as evidence that you have met all of the learning outcomes of the course. Now, you might be saying, well, what if I didn't meet all of the learning outcomes of this course? We'll deal with that in just a moment when we look at the rubric. But the goal here is to make claims about what we've learned, claims about what we know in our essay, and use our portfolio, the writing that we've selected, as evidence of that learning. Your reflective essay should be approximately 800 to 1,000 words. Frankly, I think the hardship is not meeting that 800-word minimum, but in addressing all of our course outcomes and providing evidence for them in under the 1,000-word maximum. So I'll be a little flexible with those. If you need to go over to show that you've met course outcomes, I'm fine with that. But it ends up being 800 to 1,000 words is our general guideline here. Finally, please submit these in one PDF document. Please put the reflective letter first, followed by all of the 5 to 7 pieces of writing, which we're also calling artifacts. Please compile this all into one document. That's what makes it a portfolio. You don't want to include 7 different documents, right? We want this to be one accessible piece for the reader. And it's going to be helpful, I think, to carefully label our artifacts, label our pieces, so that when we refer to them in the essay, the reader can go see them, go find that evidence for themselves easily in the portfolio. Okay, another very important piece. How will we be evaluating this assignment? It's very important to note that the pieces of your writing that you include in your portfolio are not being graded as part of this final. They've already been graded. I graded them already. I'm not going to regrade them. Only the reflective essay, only the new writing that you do will be graded or assessed, which is important because we're not asking you to choose the best writing you've done all term. In fact, if you really want to show how you've engaged with writing as a process to improve your writing, you might want to include a shitty first draft. You might want to include some informal pre-writing that you've done that you don't think is great, and you might say, look how my ideas have evolved throughout the process, and compare it to perhaps your final polished piece. So the focus is on the quality of your metacognition, your reflection, your capacity to view your writing and use it as evidence to justify your own learning, to justify how you have met the outcomes of this course. The assessment is entirely based on how effectively you reflect on your work. It is not based on the quality of previous writing. That can't be emphasized enough. Excuse me. I will allow you should look over these yourself. I think some of these guidelines are worth talking about. I specifically want to point out that our goal here is to discuss and illustrate, to show, to give specific examples of how well we have met each of the course outcomes. Again, it's not enough to say, sure, I learned that writing multiple drafts and getting feedback is important. We need to also show that, right? We need to show that through our using evidence, which is our own writing, of course, in the reflective portfolio. We want to refer to the objectives, the course outcomes specifically, and we want to show what we've done to meet the course objectives. In short, what we need to, although this might seem strange, we want to provide examples like quotations or summaries from the writings we've selected for our portfolio. Just as we want to use in-text citations to support our claims in any other academic endeavor, we want to use in-text citations to refer to the evidence in this endeavor. The only strange thing is perhaps that we are citing ourselves. We are citing work that we've already done. That's why it's going to be important to clearly label and organize your portfolio so that you can put an in-text citation that refers to, say, task 1 on page 7, or an in-text citation that refers to the writing construct essay, page 13. So it'll be important to provide and specifically illustrate our claims with evidence. That's a key part of this essay. Okay, finally, how will we be grading these? I will briefly point out what an A paper looks like, right? It's an essay that analyzes, understands, and really reflects on the course goals, on the course outcomes. The student is specific about what they did to meet these goals, and they integrate their own writing effectively as evidence, right? Just as we have done, we've been integrating evidence in our essays, although they're evidence from others. Now the evidence is our own writing. What if you haven't fully met a course outcome or a goal of the course? You can have not met the outcome and still do well in this reflection, right? Where the student has not fully met a goal of the course, their discussion of their growth is thoughtful and complex, showing a strong self-awareness and sets clear goals for future improvement. Part of metacognition is knowing what we know, of course, but it's also knowing what we don't know. So if there is a course outcome that you feel like you didn't meet, but you clearly understand it, you clearly understand how you didn't meet it, and you can show how you are going to try to meet it in the future, that's a successful metacognitive reflection. It's important that when you make the claims and I read it and I check the claims against the cited passages in the body of the portfolio, they should really support and illustrate your claim about your own learning. So it's important to choose pieces of writing, to choose our own writing artifacts for the portfolio well, to choose pieces of writing that illustrate that we've met these outcomes. Okay, I'll let you read this rubric in more detail on your own if you haven't yet. That said, this is my final comment is that this is our final reflective essay. It may seem a little lower stakes than some of the previous assignments we've written, but remember, this is 20% of our grade. This is a grade. This is a huge assignment, and it's really, so in one way, it's important for us to finish strong because of the points, and also it's important for us to finish strong with this assignment because it really solidifies all of the writing and learning that we've done this term. So in short, be sure to take this seriously. Let's get to work.